Hello and welcome to the FSA podcast. I'm the host, Brent Cromer. I'm also the owner of C4F, where we teach online business owners, mostly fitness coaches, but we're dipping into other industries and it's working very well so far, how to retain higher profits, how to sell at a more effective rate, and how to actually enjoy their business and be able to vacation and not work their life away and hating every step of it. Okay, so I teach business owners how to enjoy business. Right? Well, maintaining a life that they like. So if that interests you, go ahead and check out the channel. I do this every single week. I drop really good informational topics on sales, on mindset, on business growth and strategy and marketing. I drop it all for free. If you like it, go ahead and share and subscribe. And if you really like it and you're like, hey man, this guy seems like he knows what he's talking about, maybe you just reach out on Instagram, give me a follow, see the content there and see if it's worth maybe working together. So today, before we get into all of that, I want to talk about mindset just a little bit. I want to talk about why people don't buy. Okay. And it's a concept. It's actually a quote from the Bible. Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. What does that mean? Better the devil you know than the devil you don't. Maybe you've heard this before. This has stuck with me a long time. I heard this when I was a kid, but I never fully understood the concept until I got into sales, and it becomes abundantly clear what that quote actually means. So let's break it down. It means that basically it can be safer and less risky to stick with what you know, even if it's not ideal. Okay, this is the main aspect of this quote. Even if your current situation isn't what you want and it's not ideal, it can be safer to stay there than to risk trying something new or diving into a new situation that could potentially be worse. So better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And that is the reason, and we're going to dive into this and the psychology behind this and my interpretation of it. I'm not a psychologist, but my interpretation of the psychology behind this, and from thousands of sales calls and reviews and mentoring hundreds of people, this is what I've found to be true when buyers don't take action. It's typically revolves around this very general concept, right? While what I have isn't ideal and it might suck, it might also be better than what else is out there. Okay. So let's talk about that. When it comes to fitness, right? You have familiarities, right? You have what's normal and what's familiar to these clients. And so what's normal and familiar is, hey, I'm overweight. I hate when I look in the mirror, but I also don't know what's on the other side of that because I don't want to take action when it comes to losing weight, diving into this new, because you have to literally create a new identity for yourself to be able to lose that weight, right? You have the identity that you have now that's fat, overweight, unconfident. And then you have the other person who takes action, who gets things done, who loves what they see in the mirror each day, right? You have to become a new person to get new results, especially when it comes to something so foundational like fitness. So while they're unhappy, they are comfortable with their current routine. And the idea of a new routine and becoming a new person terrifies them. They don't know if they'll like that person. They don't know if their wife or their husband will like that person. They don't know what others will think about them. So all those what ifs are scarier than just staying with what's familiar, even though it sucks, right? Maybe it's the idea that they've tried other things in the past. This one's really common. They've tried diets in the past and they've never worked. So it's like, well, it's never worked, so I might as well stick with what I know. And what I know is that diets don't work. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. No point in trying again. Okay. They start to think this is just how my life is. This is just how things are. And accepting that is the main reason people don't take action. So that's all fitness. Let's talk business. Maybe people just accept, hey, I work 50, 60 hours a week in my business. We're constantly doing this. There's no consistency. I rarely have clarity and vision on where I want to go, but this is just business. This is just how it is. And then they just begin to accept that. And again, somehow that's more comfortable in their mind. It's justified in their mind because it's what they know, where the uncomfortable thing is to maybe pivot, maybe target a new niche, maybe restructure the business and how it operates, maybe reposition yourself within the business and hire someone so that you can take somewhat of a step back to enjoy your life. There's a lot of what ifs and there's a lot of potential and risk that could be detrimental, but it also could be life-changing. And so a lot of business owners will stay where they are because it's what they know. I've done this in business, by the way. When I started, quick little side story, when I started, I hired 14 closers. 14, because we did closer placement, closers for fitness. I kept the abbreviation, but I don't really we're not closers for fitness, we're just C4F at this point. But I did 14, I had 14 closers on several different accounts, and the business model was awful. It was stressing me out. It wasn't uber profitable, especially when you consider the amount of work that I was putting in, the amount of stress, the amount of texts and phone calls I would get all throughout the day and the evening, especially being in Eastern time zone. I was working until 10 p.m. up until I would shut my eyes and go to bed. Long days, very stressful, not as much profit as I would have hoped for all of that effort. And it was a mentor that actually told me, he's like, dude, you are going to burn yourself out. So you really have like two choices, right? You continue doing what you're doing because it's comfortable and familiar, but there is a finite timeline. Like, you will hit a point where you hate the business, you burn it down, you go do something else. Maybe you go back to your other job. So while it's comfortable-ish right now, it has a timeline. Or you could do the uncomfortable thing. You can venture into the unknown, restructure the business, let go of those closers, stop doing placement and do more sales coaching and business coaching, because after all, that's why people are hiring your closers, is because of the knowledge that they bring to the table. So maybe you just coach that and get rid of the closers. I did that. The rest is history. It sucked. It sucked letting go of 14 closers. That really sucked. It sucked restructuring the whole business and the model and getting rid of all my SOPs and writing new ones, but it paid off. So at the time, the devil I knew was better than the devil I didn't, but the devil I didn't know wound up being the best decision I made for my business. So there's a lot of progress and prosperity on the other side of discomfort, right? And so that's what we have to get our prospects to realize, is that sometimes taking that risk, it could be the best thing that you've ever done, right? So we talked about the situations in which they're comfortable. Now let's talk about the reasons why they might not want to change. A new workout plan. If we go back to the fitness reference, a new workout plan, or a new coach being vulnerable and opening up, a new diet routine, the fear of not knowing what to buy at the grocery store, not knowing what to do in the gym, all that feels very risky from a, I'm drawing a blank on it, right? But from a perspective that they will feel silly, right? They'll feel dumb. They'll look dumb at the gym. They'll look dumb at the grocery store, not knowing what to buy. They'll feel silly to their spouse. Like, that's another one. They don't want to feel dumb to their spouse. If their spouse is supportive on the surface, but also is quite judgmental on, when they take on new endeavors like this because they failed in the past, that can feel uncomfortable because they don't want to come off as a failure, right? So there's a lot of risk that we don't really factor in because it's so normal to us. We go to the gym, we get a sick fucking pump. We go to the grocery store, we buy good, clean, healthy food. We eat the food, and our partner is super supportive because we found someone who aligns with our interests. And so for us, it's just normal run-of-the-mill routine things. For them, it's like they're developing a new identity. So for them, it can feel very uncomfortable, it can feel very silly, and it can be very risky as far as like their self-confidence goes. So we have to think about these things. We have to put ourselves in the prospect's shoes. So a lot of that can feel risky. I want to touch back on the risk of failing. Like, if you prove to yourself over and over that you can't complete things, that you are not someone who finishes the job, that you're not someone who does very well when it comes to fitness, you can just develop the persona. I'm just not good at this. I fail every time. A lot of people have this mentality. Business. I had this mentality. Again, I want to reference some of my struggles in business. I was not a marketer. I didn't even have a Facebook before I started the business. I had deleted it back in like 2012. Instagram, I didn't make an Instagram business page for a long time, or business account. I had my personal account that I posted on like twice a year. So I wasn't a social media guy. And when I came into the space as a business owner, I was very good at sales. I was very business minded from my MBA and from my mentors, but I didn't know how to market. And when I would see other people marketing, I'm like, oh wow, they're shredded. They're 5% body fat standing in front of their Lambo. I don't have a Lambo. They're standing in front of their big giant Miami penthouse. I don't have one of those. They are writing these amazing articles on Facebook, and they're so captivating, and they do walk you through a wonderful story. I'm not really good at that. So I developed this mindset that I'm just not a good marketer. I'm a great businessman, I'm a great salesman, but I suck at marketing. And in fact, I would use that in my marketing. I would talk about how much I sucked at marketing in my marketing, which actually worked out in kind of a weird way. But I developed this personality that I just wasn't a good marketer. Well, a lot of people were coming to me with help or, for help with marketing. So I'm like, if I keep this persona that I suck at marketing, no one's going to come to me to get help with their marketing. So I hired mentors to get better at marketing. I don't think I suck at marketing. I just don't do a lot of it because I don't have to right now. My clients are wonderful at marketing. We have SOPs and trainings for that, and they do great. So I had to step out of my comfort zone once again. So let me ask you, is there something in your business that you've just developed a persona? I'm not good with KPIs. I'm not good at sales. I'm not good with re-signs. I'm not good at this, and that. Is there, some personas that you've developed about yourself and business that maybe it's time to break free from, right? Again, I'm going to keep repeating this quote all throughout the podcast. The devil you know is better than the devil you don't. So what in your life are you just accepting as, it's just the way it is, where you could be stepping out of that comfort zone to get something much better? For me, it worked out again, right? So, and then just a genuine, like if we're talking an overarching concept, again, another fear of change. So we've talked about a fear of, new workout plans looking silly to the spouse or to people at the grocery store or the gym. Okay. So that's one fear of change. The other fear is becoming a failure or continuing to prove to themselves and to their spouse and their loved ones around them that they're a failure, that they can't complete things. So that's another fear. And then it's just a fear of doing something unfamiliar just in general, right? Like working with a coach. That can feel kind of silly. Being vulnerable with them, sending pictures in your underwear, sharing all your stats, someone holding you accountable. Maybe, you don't like being held accountable because it's embarrassing. All the more reason to be held accountable, of course, but that's another fear that they might have. Okay. So we have to position this decision to take action, right? Whether it be in business or fitness, as a calculated risk, right? Because if it's just perceived as a risk, they're going to say, I don't like jumping into things. I need to think it over. I need to review my finances. I need to do X, Y, and Z. And they're going to get all the objections because people will fight like hell to stay in their comfort zone, right? Even you guys. I mean, if you're a fitness coach, it's so funny because fitness coaches are kind of on both sides of the tracks. They help people with fitness and overcome these things, but they're also business owners and they struggle with these own things themselves. And so it's like this weird dichotomy of, do as I say, not as I do. So like, do as I say, do this, get out of your comfort zone, do X, Y, and Z. But when it comes to me and I look in my, at myself in the mirror, what am I doing or not doing or avoiding because I'm uncomfortable in my business? And again, this was something I had to do myself. So if this podcast, if you're driving, if you're at the gym and you're like, damn, you're having a moment, it's probably necessary. I had several of these moments as I was going through business. I still have revelations, in business now. Like I feel like I'm in a good spot. The business is wonderful. It's profitable. I'm not working too much. My clients are very happy. Like this is probably the best spot I've been in business, but it's been so many iterations of the business and pivoting and changing and doing the uncomfortable thing to finally get here. So like, for me, on the other side of discomfort was prosperity and a happy life and a happy business. Okay. For you, I don't know what that looks like. Okay. So that's where you have to calculate the risks involved. Is what I'm doing now, is it what I want to be doing for a long time? If the answer is no, then you should be looking towards a pivot. Simple as that. Like I hired a new mentor, and I won't dive into the reasons just yet. I'll go through and I'll update you guys on the podcast. It's a high level mentor. It's expensive, more expensive than I wanted to spend, if we're being transparent. But I asked Brooke, I said, there's these certain aspects of the business that I want to improve. If I don't improve them, I know I'll continue being kind of frustrated. So the answer is simple. Am I happy 100%? If the answer is no, invest into someone who can make it 100%. And so that's how I look at mentorships. So anyway, when we act in congruency, I know that's how I operate. So getting someone else to operate in the same way is fairly simple when it comes to the sales process, because like, this is normal. This is how I act, and it works. So what do you feel like you need to do to get that same level of success and happiness in your life, right? And so like, this can translate to you when you're selling to your clients. So again, it's got to be a calculated risk to them though. If it's just risky, they're really gonna fight like hell to stay where they are. Okay, so kind of a closing statement, but I want to give you guys a little bit of homework. I know most of you guys hear that and you're like, all right, on to the next podcast. Stay with me here, okay? Just write this down, or jot it down in your head, whatever you're doing. what is something in your life, your relationship, your business, what is something in your fitness, anywhere in your life that you're accepting a certain level of mediocrity, right? You could be better, but it's not terrible, right? Ask yourself that. Could be better, but it's not terrible. You're accepting that, you know, a certain level of discomfort is fine. It's just fine. And those things rarely get better without taking action. So what is something that you're accepting? This could be your income. This could be how much time you spend with your spouse, or how meaningful that time is that you spend with your spouse. Could be anything, right? What is something you're settling for? And then what is something that you can do to make it better? Because if we let it fester, it's going to go nowhere but south. Okay. So better the devil you know than the devil you don't. That quote has stuck with me for a long time. It circles around my brain nonstop. It's how I make decisions. It's literally the foundation and the premise of how I structure my life. I do not settle for comfort and mediocrity. I want everything to be the best it can possibly be, and I'll continue to invest into myself and into mentors until I have that, and I'm damn close. Okay, so hope this was helpful, guys. Like, share, subscribe, send to a friend. Peace.